Have you ever wondered why she always ends up in the arms of the guy who least deserves her, while you, with all your love and attention, are relegated to the painful friend zone? Listen carefully to what I'm about to reveal, because it challenges everything you thought you knew about female desire. There's an ancient dance between bodies and minds, a silent game where most men follow rules that never worked, while a few know the secret moves that transform attraction into obsession. I'm not talking about cheap tricks or deception, but something much deeper and more unsettling. The understanding that everything you were taught about winning a woman's heart was a carefully constructed lie designed to keep you in emotional mediocrity. If this has made you think, even for a second, like this right now, because what I'm about to share can revolutionize your existence forever, I invite you to discover the method that only 3% of men know and apply. In the depths of the female soul lurks an untold truth, a primal hunger no modernity has been able to tame, that shadow dancing between desire and rejection, that abyss between what her lips utter and what her body craves. Do you feel it? That shiver that runs down your spine when you realize that love is older than your words to name it, wilder than your attempts to contain it. Let's be brutally honest with yourself. You've tried everything, right? You bought that expensive cologne thinking the scent would give you confidence. You tried to impress her with costly gifts, believing that money buys affection. You were that super attentive guy who replies to messages immediately because you thought constant availability was synonymous with genuine interest. And where did all that get you? Straight to the friend zone, that emotional limbo where your good intentions turn into romantic invisibility. The brutal truth is, you were programmed to fail from the start. Society, romantic movies, even your own mother, they all taught you the wrong path. They told you to be gentle, polite, respectful. And don't get me wrong, those are important qualities for being a good human being. But alone, isolated from other more primitive and powerful elements, they don't create that unstoppable attraction that makes a woman unable to get you out of her mind. Do you know what does create it? Tension, mystery, a little calculated danger that activates her deepest instincts. Think with me for a moment. Why does that guy who isn't even that handsome manage to conquer them all? Because he possesses that unshakable confidence that makes women gravitate around him like planets around the sun. Because he understands something fundamental that you haven't grasped yet. Seduction doesn't happen in logic. It doesn't unfold in the realm of rational conversations and convincing arguments. It happens in instinct, in her subconscious, in those primitive layers of the brain where decisions are made before the conscious mind even realizes it. Do you think women consciously choose who they fall in love with? Of course not. It's their primitive brain that decides, that ancestral part that comes from caveman times, when survival depended on choosing the right mate. And that brain doesn't care about flowers or expensive dinners. It's not moved by romantic gestures from movies. It cares about signals of value, social dominance, and protective capability. Now, before you think I'm telling you to become a caveman, calm down. It's not about being rude or disrespectful. It's about understanding the ancient dance between bodies and minds that occurs in seduction, about triggering the right switches at the precise moment, about plucking those emotional chords that resonate at frequencies most men don't even know exist. I spent over 10 years studying this, testing it on the battleground of human interactions, observing what works and what falls apart miserably. What I discovered goes against everything preached by relationship experts who swarm around selling sweet but ineffective advice. Do you want to know the secret no one tells you? Women don't want a man who is always available, who is there every time they snap their fingers. They want a man who has options, a man who doesn't need them to feel complete. Paradoxical, isn't it? The less you need her, the more she will desire you. It's a contradiction that defies all romantic logic, but it's a psychological truth as solid as the laws of physics. What I'm about to reveal are 4 fundamental pillars that will transform you from an ordinary guy into an attraction magnet. Pay attention because what's coming is pure gold, distilled from years of observation and practice. Pillar 1, movement. Seduction doesn't begin with a simple, polite hello that vanishes into thin air without a trace. It begins with a disruption, a fracture in the expected, a spark in the silence that awakens something dormant within her. Forget everything they told you about traditional introductions. Forget that robotic, "How are you?" that dies the moment it's uttered and immediately classifies it as just another run-of-the-mill interaction. The first move isn't about being nice or harmless. It's about taking control of the emotional rhythm from the very first second, establishing that you're not just another predictable sheep in the flock of men who approach her with the same worn-out lines and the same approaches she's heard 1,000 times. Imagine approaching her, but instead of being predictable like everyone else, you say something like, "You look like someone who hates superficial conversations but secretly loves chaos." In that moment, something changes in her expression. She pauses, blinks. Her brain activates like an engine that just received high-octane fuel. Why does this happen? Because you've interrupted her automatic pattern, that mental filter programmed to automatically discard generic men who approach her. In that instant, you're no longer one of them. You've made her curious, and curiosity is the gateway drug to desire. This is what most men never understand. The first sentence is the foundation of the entire game that follows. It's like the opening move in chess. It sets the tempo for the entire game, defines the emotional battlefield. If you open weak with something common and predictable, you've already put yourself on the defensive. You'll spend the rest of the interaction chasing her, trying to regain lost ground. But if you open strong with something unexpected, poetic, or slightly absurd, you gain frame. Control. Now she's in your world playing by your rules. This is movement. It's not about what you say exactly, but how sharply you cut through the everyday noise. It's about projecting a clear psychological signal. I'm not here to desperately impress you. I'm here to see if you're worth the game. And this isn't just verbal. It's energetic. It's your tone, your timing, the deliberate calmness in your speech, that slight smile as if you already know how this whole thing will end. Men who approach with high-frequency, predictable phrases are discarded by her subconscious in seconds. But a man who walks with a sense of controlled unpredictability becomes a question she wants to answer. Never forget this. Women are attracted to what they don't immediately understand. So be the enigma, be the disruption, be the man who speaks not to impress with pretty words, but to provoke something within her that she had forgotten she could feel. When your first move makes her stop and think, the game is already yours. You've established from the beginning that you're not like the others, that you're not desperate for her approval, that you have the security of someone who knows exactly who they are and what they're worth. In that moment, you've activated her curiosity, and curiosity is the hook that awakens dormant desire. Remember, it's not about memorizing canned lines or reciting a script that isn't yours. It's about understanding the principle: pattern interruption, intrigue creation, frame establishment. Once you master this, the exact words flow naturally, because you're operating from a position of inner strength, not from the desperation of someone begging for attention. Movement is the first pillar because it sets the direction for the entire interaction. It determines whether you'll be the hunter or the hunted, whether you'll be defensive or in control. And when you master this art, when you can enter any situation and establish your presence in a way that breaks from the expected and awakens curiosity, you've taken the first step toward becoming the man she can't get out of her head. Pillar 2, unshakable confidence. This is where the entire foundation of attraction begins to harden into something unshakable, something untouchable, something extraordinarily rare in the modern world. Confidence isn't what you say, it's what you don't need to say. You see, she perceives everything before you open your mouth. She reads your essence, observes how you sit, how long you maintain eye contact, whether your presence fills the room or begs for space. True confidence is silent. It walks without announcing itself, speaks slowly, moves with certainty, and, above all, doesn't fear loss. That's the attitude you need to embody. I don't need you, but I'm not afraid of you either. This is the posture that flips the entire power dynamic on its head, and once you learn it, she starts to qualify herself to you instead of you having to prove your worth to her. Let me make it visual so you understand it completely. Think about the last time you walked into a car showroom. The salesperson who hounded you, who clung to you like a shadow, who kept asking, "Do you like it? Do you want to test drive it?" What do you think? He exuded a desperation you could smell, and you instantly had the upper hand because his need diminished his value in your eyes. Now imagine another salesperson. He greets you calmly, elegantly shows you the car, then quietly withdraws. He knows what he's offering. He knows you'll feel it if it's right for you. Suddenly, you feel the need to prove you're worthy of the deal. You start asking questions. You start to justify your interest. It's exactly the same in seduction. When you demonstrate that your life is complete, rich in purpose, full of joy, anchored in strength, with or without her, you become the prize, not the desperate hunter, not the emotional beggar pleading for attention. And women don't chase men they pity. They chase men they respect, men who represent something they desire to achieve or experience. How do you radiate this attitude through your body? Because words lie, but energy never lies. Shoulders relaxed, yet strong. Upright posture that speaks of dignity. Unwavering eye contact that doesn't apologize for existing. Slow and steady breathing. Precise and intentional movements as if you own time itself. No trembling hands, no nervously bouncing legs, no fast, anxious speech. You speak as if you trust your silence because studies show that over 90% of communication is nonverbal. She doesn't just hear you, she feels you in every fiber of her being. And if your energy says, "Please love me," she'll pull away even if your words say something completely different. But if your presence says, "You're welcome to join me, but I don't bend for approval," she leans in because detachment is intoxicating, it's addictive, it's what most men never manage to convey. This is the paradox that changes everything. The less you seek validation, the more your value multiplies in her eyes. So remember, don't chase her attention. Pursue your own inner power, because when a man becomes magnetic from within, everything outside begins to orbit around him as if he were the gravitational center of his own universe. Pillar 3. Calculated risk. Schopenhauer knew it. Love is the species' deception to keep itself alive. But he fell short. Love isn't just deception, it's war. And in this war, the civilized man always loses. Do you know what a woman really seeks when she says she wants emotional connection? She wants to feel, not think. And the most powerful feelings don't come from security. They come from uncertainty, from risk, from controlled danger. The man she desires is the man who makes her doubt. Does he love me? Does he not love me? Will he call back? Is he with someone else? That emotional roller coaster is more addictive than any drug. And you, with your unconditional love and absolute availability, are forced rehabilitation. Your methadone when she wants heroin. Napoleon conquered Europe, but he couldn't conquer Josephine. Why? Because he needed her more than she needed him. He wrote desperate letters from the battlefield while she slept with others in Paris. The emperor of the world reduced to an emotional beggar. Does that sound familiar? Of course it does, because you've begged too. You've pleaded for crumbs of attention while she offered banquets to those who never asked for anything. This is the most counterintuitive of all, the seductive art of stepping back right at the peak of connection. Not because you don't care, but because you understand one of the most powerful truths about female desire. Nostalgia creates obsession. Emptiness generates desperate longing. You know that perfect moment when the conversation flows effortlessly, when smiles come naturally, when she's completely present with you, engrossed in your presence, hanging on your every word. That's not the time to push forward and squeeze every last drop out of that connection. That's the time to leave, to disappear, right when everything feels most alive and promising. Yes, exactly, at the peak. Just when it feels most electric and full of possibilities. You simply say, "I'd love to stay longer, but I've got to go. Let's continue this another time." What happens next isn't logical. It's completely chemical and primitive. Your brain releases a significant amount of dopamine, and then you disappear. You've just become the episode that ends on a cliffhanger, the song that cuts off at the best part, the book that closes right when the plot gets interesting. Think about the last addictive series you watched. It didn't explain everything. It didn't resolve all the plot lines. It left you hungry for more. That's what you must become. Not the 3-hour movie that drags on until everyone loses interest, but the tense, high-stakes episode that leaves her breathless and counting down the days until the next season. This means you don't reply the moment she texts you. You don't answer every call as if you're waiting by the phone. You live your life. You move through your world like a man on a mission, a man who has options, purpose, his own gravity. Because when she notices your absence, her emotional radar activates in a way she can't control. Where are you? Who are you with? Why haven't you replied? And in that moment, she's not just thinking about you, she's feeling you. Now you're looping in her mind, replaying your voice, rereading your last text as if it were a secret code she needs to decipher. This is the crucial shift, when she starts to pursue, not out of strategy, but out of tension, unresolved emotion, a craving for resolution. That's what most men never understand. They stay too long, reply too fast, eliminate all tension, and in doing so, kill desire in its cradle. But you will learn to walk away elegantly, to leave her with a taste, not the full meal, to create silences that resonate louder than words, because that is the most beautiful and cruel paradox. The less she has of you, the more she will need you. This isn't blind arrogance. It's not calculated manipulation. This is pure psychology masterfully applied. And the man who masters it doesn't chase like a desperate predator. He attracts by letting go, pulls by releasing, conquers by withdrawing. At the perfect moment. Have you noticed how she behaves with the man who doesn't reply to her messages immediately? How she checks her phone obsessively? How every message from him is worth 100 of yours? It's not that he's better than you. It's that he understands, consciously or unconsciously, that female desire operates on tension, not satisfaction. You eliminate all tension, reply in seconds, are always available. You're an open faucet of attention and affection. And then you wonder why she'd rather die of thirst than drown in your ocean. Pillar 4, the masculine edge. Nietzsche cried, "God is dead," but he forgot to add, "and with him died the last man women could respect." The modern man is not the gym alpha male who confuses muscles with masculinity. That's just another sheep in disguise. The real man is more subtle, more lethal. He's the man who can destroy and chooses to build, who can wound and chooses to heal, but she knows he could destroy. That latent power is what excites her. Why do you think women fantasize about vampires, mobsters, dangerous men, tamed? It's not the violence that attracts them, it's the contained power. The beast who chooses to be a prince, but who could revert to a beast if the situation demanded it. You have no beast. You killed it years ago on the altar of the modern sensitive man. You sacrificed it to be accepted, loved, validated, and with it died your deepest allure. Take the initiative and escalate the interaction when necessary, without doubts that paralyze you. This is the moment of truth where most men fail miserably, where all previous pillars collapse if you don't have the courage to act. You created attraction, built emotional tension, played the game of detachment. Now you need to act decisively, and this is where fear appears in all its ugliness. Fear of rejection, fear of ruining everything you've built, fear of being seen as invasive or inappropriate. But let me tell you a secret that will transform your perspective forever. Women want you to take the initiative. They fantasize about a man who knows what he wants and isn't afraid to go for it without apologizing for his masculinity. Almost no one realizes this, but hesitation kills more opportunities than rejection itself. When you feel the moment is right, act without asking permission, without asking if you can. You read her signals and move forward with the confidence of someone who understands the silent language of desire. It could be taking her hand while walking. It could be pulling her closer during a conversation. It could be that kiss at the perfect moment when silence speaks louder than 1,000 words. Calculated audacity is what separates men from boys playing at being men. It's what makes her mention you to her friends the next day. It's what creates impactful memories she can't forget even if she wanted to. Are you ready for this level of intensity and commitment? Now I know what you must be thinking, and let's clarify it once and for all. This isn't manipulation in the toxic sense of the word. It's not being a heartless jerk. Manipulation is when you lie, deceive, or do something against her will. What I'm teaching you is exactly the opposite. It's about being authentic in your masculinity, understanding what truly creates attraction, and acting accordingly with that understanding. Think with me. When a woman puts on makeup, chooses a beautiful outfit, wears special perfume, is she being manipulative? Of course not. She's presenting herself in the best possible way. She's using tools to become more attractive. That's exactly what you're doing, using psychological tools to awaken genuine attraction. It's not about deceiving anyone or creating a false personality. It's about being the best version of yourself, the most authentic and powerful. And let me tell you something few men know. Women want to be seduced. They dream about it, read books about it, watch movies about it, but they want to be seduced by a real man, not by an insecure guy who apologizes for existing, not by a man who is afraid of his own shadow. They want to feel that shiver in their stomach, that tension in the air, That play of glances that says more than 1,000 empty conversations. And when you master the secret code I'm revealing to you, you become that man. You become the guy they can't get out of their head, the mystery that keeps them awake thinking. Remember that chess metaphor I mentioned at the beginning? Every interaction with a woman is a game, and while most men play defensively, afraid of losing the queen, you'll be 3 moves ahead. You'll know when to advance, when to retreat, when to sacrifice a piece to win the entire game. And most importantly, you'll play to win, not to avoid losing. There's an abysmal difference between these two mentalities. Playing not to lose is what keeps you in the friend zone. It's what makes you afraid of taking risks. It's what leaves you paralyzed in inaction. Playing to win is taking calculated risks. It's understanding that some defeats are part of the learning process. It's knowing that every no brings you closer to a definitive yes. The magnetic touch. Let's talk about something crucial that most overlook: the magnetic touch. This isn't about uncontrolled lust. It's not about groping or forcing situations. This is ancestral ritual, primitive language that transcends words. Touch is humanity's oldest language, older than words, deeper than logic. It bypasses the mind and speaks directly to the subconscious where real decisions are made. But here's the secret that changes everything. She's not attracted to the touch itself. She's attracted to the way it happens. Its perfect timing, its rhythm, its clear intention. The right touch at the right moment can bind a memory to her body in a way that will last forever. But the wrong touch, the rushed, the forced, kills everything instantly. How does it begin then? Not with blind audacity, but with calculated innocence. A light touch on her shoulder as you laugh at something she said. A hand gently guiding her through a doorway. A slow, playful high five that lingers half a second longer than normal. Moments that feel natural, yet leave an indelible mark. You escalate not through pressure, but through presence. You touch, and then you withdraw. And that withdrawal is everything. It creates absence, and absence creates craving. This is what most men never understand. The touch isn't about the contact. It's about what happens in the moment after. Because when you touch and stop, her body feels the silence and starts to miss you before you've even left. This is the intermittent touch, the psychological equivalent of a heartbeat. On, off, near, far, safe, dangerous. It builds tension she can't name. It floods her system with oxytocin and dopamine, the same chemicals released during pleasure and connection. But you're not connecting. You're engraving yourself into her nervous system like a mark she'll never be able to erase. And here's the beautiful paradox. The more natural it seems, the more powerful it becomes. You mustn't telegraph intent. You mustn't hesitate. You touch like a man who's done it 1,000 times, not because you're desperate, but because you're self-contained. Your hand doesn't ask permission. It reads her reaction. If she leans in, you know it. If she pulls back, you adapt. Because the masculine touch isn't invasive, it's observant. It listens with the skin, and when used correctly, it makes her feel something terribly rare in the modern world. A man who is in control of himself and attuned to her at the same time. That's magnetic. That's what keeps her awake at night, because long after the words are forgotten, she'll remember how you made her feel. Not in her mind, in her body. Cold reading. There's one last weapon you must master. One most men don't even think about. Cold reading. It's not magic. It's precision. The silent art of reading what she wants before she even knows it. Because every woman leaves subtle signals, not in her words, but in her patterns. The way she dresses, the speed of her voice, the rhythm of her walk, what she posts online, where she goes, what she avoids. You're no longer just a man. You're an emotional detective reading between the lines, tracking the energy behind the words, feeling the signals she doesn't say aloud. A woman who wears flashy, shiny jewelry is screaming for attention. She wants the spotlight and confirmation that she still has it. A woman in subtle, elegant tones is deeper, more private. She yearns to be understood, not just superficially seen. Observe the way she speaks. If she talks fast, gestures broadly, she's spontaneous, reactive, guided by pure feeling. If she speaks slowly, carefully, she's calculated, guarded, strategic in every move. And when you adjust your energy to match her hidden nature, when you reflect what she truly needs without her asking, you become irresistible because you're not offering what she's consciously demanding. You're offering what she's secretly dying to receive. That's the real power. The understanding that every human being hungers for something they can't even articulate. But here's the trap most men fall into. They try to do everything instantly, gorge on techniques, force results, imitate, act, perform a script that isn't theirs. But this isn't acting. This is the embodiment of your true masculine nature. So slow down, start with just one pillar, apply it for a week until it becomes real, until it's a part of you. Then another and another, until the system isn't something you memorize, but something you are. Because this method I'm giving you isn't about becoming someone else. It's about unleashing the real you, the alpha that society buried under years of shame, guilt, and conditioning, that made you believe your masculinity was something to apologize for. Wake up once and for all. Time is slipping away while you stay there ruminating, overanalyzing every possibility. Other men are already using this and getting results while you're still watching, still doubting, still wondering if this actually works. Ask yourself, 5 years from now, do you want to be in exactly the same place with the same silent frustrations, watching the woman you wanted in the arms of a man who simply knew how to move? Or do you want to be the man she can't forget, the man who never begs, the man who chooses instead of being chosen, the man who doesn't accept emotional crumbs? You're standing on the edge of an existential abyss, with a scalpel in hand that can separate the man you are from the man you were always meant to be. You have the secret map of female psychology spread before you like an ancient labyrinth. Remember this as if your life depends on it. Knowledge without action is dead. You can consume 100 videos, read 100 books, but if you don't step into the ring, you'll be stuck in impotent theory forever. Most men who hear this will do nothing. They'll stay the same. They'll remain gentle to the point of invisibility. They'll be trapped in the friend zone for all eternity. But not you. You are not most. Men, if you've made it this far, comment right now. I command without saying anything to seal this pact with yourself. Destiny doesn't wait for the indecisive. She won't wait forever while you decide to act like the man you truly are inside. The transformation begins now or never.